Ever write code that looks perfectly fine and still crashes? That happens to every Python beginner. And by the end of this video, you won't be one of them. I'm Kai. Python is the language that reads closest to plain English, so your brain fights the syntax less and solves the actual problem more. By the end of this video, you'll understand variables, types, loops, conditionals, and functions well enough to write a real small program. Let's get into it. Picture a kitchen. A variable is a labeled jar holding an ingredient. A function is a recipe card. You feed it ingredients and it hands back a dish. A loop is stirring the pot the same way over and over. A condition is tasting the soup and deciding yes, add salt, or no, it's fine. That's it. That's your entire starter toolkit, and we'll use every piece of this kitchen for the rest of the video. Imagine you have a jar and you write age on the sticky note. Then drop the number 25 inside. That is exactly what this code does. Notice you never had to say this is a number or this is text. Python just looks at what you gave it and figures that out. In short, a variable is a name pointing at a value. Nothing more mysterious than that. So here is the trick. Every jar has a shape that fits what you put in it. Whole numbers are called integers, decimals are called floats, text is called a string, and a simple yes or no is called a boolean. You might wonder why this matters. It matters because Python treats each shape differently when you do math or comparisons on it. In short, the type just describes what kind of value is sitting inside your variable. A list is like a row of jars sitting on a shelf, all sharing one label. Notice the counting starts at 0, not 1, so the second jar is actually at position 1. This trips up almost everyone the first time, so do not feel bad if it takes a moment to click. In short, a list holds many values in order, and you reach each one by its position number. Here, we make a list of scores, then grab the item at position 0, which gives us 7. When we call append, we are just tossing one more jar onto the end of the shelf. Run this in your head and you will see the final list has 4 items now. Clean. Think of an if statement as a fork in the road. Your code asks a question and picks a path based on the answer. Here we check whether temperature is greater than 25. And since 30 is bigger, Python prints it's hot. Notice the colon and the indentation. Python uses spacing instead of curly braces to know what belongs to the if block. In short, if and else let your program make decisions. Both loops answer the same question. How do I repeat something without copy-pasting code 3 times? A for loop walks down a row of jars you already know, one by one, until it hits the end. A while loop instead keeps going as long as the question stays true, like reading until you hit the last page, not knowing in advance how many pages that is. What's the while loop here? Count starts at 0, and Python keeps looping until count hits 3. Same goal, different trigger for stopping. A function is a little machine you build once and use over and over. You feed it an ingredient, here that is name, and it hands back a finished product using return. Calling greet with Kai gives us back hello Kai. No need to rewrite that logic every time. In short, def builds the machine and calling it with parentheses turns it on. I will be honest, my first real Python bug was exactly this. My editor mixed tabs and spaces and Python refused to run, and I spent way too long staring at code that looked perfectly fine to my eyes. Python does not use curly braces like many other languages. It reads the indentation itself to know what belongs inside the if block. So the fix is simple, always indent with 4 spaces and let your editor handle it consistently. In short, if your code looks aligned but still editor handle it consistently. In short, if your code looks aligned but still errors. Another classic trap is trying to glue a number straight onto some text. Python will refuse and throw an error because it does not know how to add a word and a number together. The fix is to convert the number into text first using star, then it joins just fine. In short, when Python complains about mixing types, wrap the number in star before combining it with a string. So where does Python actually fit compared to something like Java or C? Python trades raw speed for readability and fewer lines of code, which is a fair trade for most everyday scripts and data work. My honest opinion here is that people overrate Python's slowness as a real problem. For the vast majority of tasks, you will hit a human bottleneck long before you hit a computer one. In short, pick Python when you value your own time, and pick a Python when you value your own time, and pick a faster compiled language only when raw performance truly matters. Let's land this. Variables are labeled jars, lists are rows of those jars, conditionals let your code choose a path, loops repeat work, and functions package it all up for reuse. The 2 mistakes that catch almost every beginner are sloppy indentation and mixing text with numbers, so keep an eye on those. You now have the real basics of Python, enough to write a small useful program today. If that indentation bug I showed you earlier ever eats your afternoon, come back to this video. Subscribe so your afternoon, come back to this video. Subscribe so you can find it.